Hello and welcome. My name is Tola Gbalajobi. I am a counselor at Masters, and I have the privilege today of interviewing one of my colleagues here, Braden Scharfenberg. Welcome, Braden.
How's it going?
So good. So excited to be with you here today or via Zoom.
So close.
It's amazing. Yeah. How's your day going?
Yeah, it's going so good.
So
It's
good.
been a great day. Got to connect with all the counselors here at Masters today and
Yeah.
got to hang out with you. And now we're hanging out again.
Must be having the best day ever.
It's as good as it gets. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Well, yeah, to dive right in, if that's cool with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing I wanted to get to know more about you, you have a bit of a diverse background, and I just wanted to know how your previous experience has really aided your counseling ability.
Yeah. I mean, I was a private eye for 7 years and now I'm just kidding.
I can see that.
Yeah, no, actually, a private eye though and a counselor, sometimes they're not that different. But
I see that.
no, so before I worked in humanitarian aid for quite a while and did some things overseas, but then did a lot in the Arctic. And so I spent a lot of time up there, specifically in Nunavut. We went to every town there and we did different youth and family programs where we
Very
worked
cool.
with youth who were at risk for suicide and had just very, very challenging things going on in their lives. And we would do our best to connect them where we could to resources. And also, we would even work with youth and elder boards and stuff to get them active in the community and help them find jobs, things like that. So that one was really amazing. And at the same time, I also worked in oil and gas. At the same time, actually,
Oh,
they were really lenient with me being able to go on certain trips and initiatives and stuff. It was amazing in lots of ways. I learned a lot of things, just different cultures, different parts of, even Alberta here and Saskatchewan and places like that. And it gave me a lot of insight in specifically men's lives, like what
mm,
a lot of the typical day-to-day people who kind of keep everything going, keep things rolling so we have gas in the pumps, things like that.
yeah.
Getting to know what their life is like. People who are working 7 days on, 12-hour days, and then they're home for 5 days. Things like that, where it's hard to find a work-life balance. Like you hear these things about work life and self-care, which I know
Yeah.
you know,
I love so much.
yeah. Which she does, just in case.
I do.
There's a story there. But yeah, so you hear these things, and then there's these people who just don't really get a lot of opportunity to practice those things, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of challenge, and their relationships can be challenging at times, and then other times they can be amazing and they can work really well. So, but I think that gives me a unique insight to see different facets of life and working with different people and different types of careers and things like that. And
Yeah.
it really applies to a lot of the clients I get to meet with, whether it's different cultural pieces or maybe challenges in family or work or things like that. It's just it's not that far off.
It kind of gave you perspective in ways, or would you say that maybe what you gained from it or what you use now is kind of maybe a greater understanding of
Yeah,
different types of things that go on in different people's lives?
exactly. Yeah, it's
Mm,
exactly that.
so
It allows the kind of the individual, because I really look at people as individuals with a unique experience. So you're always getting to know someone and getting to know them because people change. But
yeah,
it gives more space for them to have to explain less sometimes because you can find those pockets to really understand quickly.
so cool. And it's even interesting because I know it was in a different capacity, but already it sounds so similar to what we do in counseling even then. So
Yeah,
I kind of want to know more like with all this diverse experience that you had before, like why counseling? Why do you think you landed
totally.
here? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And it is kind of funny to, we talk oil and gas into psychotherapy. It's a unique step. But for me, it's always been that passion underlying. I know for me, I appreciated the opportunities I got in that area. But if I wasn't working with people and there wasn't making a difference in
Mhm.
someone's life and growing in my own, I just knew it wasn't quite right for me, is the way to put
Right.
it. And so I always knew I would go to this. I remember it was when I would turned, I think 19 or 20, I knew that I was going to be a counselor. I just thought it was going to be when I was older, retired, a little bit more salt in the salt and pepper. And I thought it was going to be later in life. And then things kind of, we all went through different things in 2020. And so it was at that point, I'm like, this is the time to regroup and reset into the direction that I really want my life to go. And so yeah, it's been something I've always known, but it took me a while to get there, I'd say. Yeah.
That's so cool. And I love how you said it kind of sounds like that common thread throughout your life was the people, that a lot of times, and I feel the same way that people can look at all these different industries and be like, how did you go to such diverse lengths? But if the point was the people and you were able to be filled in that way,
Yeah.
um, like kind of can make it worth it. But now you have a job in a space that is all about the people, would you say?
Yeah, exactly that. It's like
Hmm.
all of my favorite parts of everything I've ever done until now,
Yeah.
it's this job. And
So cool.
it's like I would always find those pieces that I loved inside of it, but this is the things that I love the most wrapped up in one career. So I'm not
So
going
cool.
anywhere. So
We're happy to hear it.
yeah.
In that vein, tell us a little bit more about like the way that you practice. I know that you kind of work from a attachment and family systems perspective, but can you
Hmm.
tell us a little bit more about what does that mean or what does that look like?
Totally. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, for me, I really look at the person, first of all, as an individual and a
Mhm.
unique individual. Because if you think about it in terms of like family systems, what that's really looking at is, hey, you came from a family of some kind. You came from maybe a mom and a dad, or you came from caregivers, or it could be any different type of family. But both of those people, if there was two, brought their own unique family system from their mom and dad, and the way that they did anger, the way that they did celebration, the way that they did conflict, the way that they did everything. And so you have all of these like intergenerational pieces behind you of the way that we do things, so who we are pieces. Even when you're rejecting a piece, it's an intentional thing because it's there to reject,
Mhm.
and maybe choose something new, and that's great. But what we don't realize is those things, they kind of stand behind us and inform so much of what we do, regardless of if it's obvious or if it's not. So I really like to keep that on the table. And where
Mhm.
attachment comes in, that's just like a word that we use in the therapeutic world to say the love and connection between a parent and a child. So when we're developing as kids, like especially between the ages of like 0 to 6, our caregiver is our universe. It's everything. Who they are to us is everything. And so things can happen in that space where maybe needs aren't able to be met. Things can get interrupted. Maybe people are taken away from their families, or maybe things, even like simple things, can come up, that make them struggle to feel like they have a sense of belonging, even though they couldn't put those words on it because they're, 4,
Right.
5, and 6.
Right.
But those little things, they start these snowball effects. And so it's not
Mhm.
about, oh, were your parents good people? Or it's not like anything like that. I know if there's a parent listening right now, they would be like, they're always trying to blame me.
Right. It's always the parents' fault.
Yeah,
We are
totally.
the enemy. We don't make
Yeah.
mistakes.
That's so funny. And so it's not about trying to blame anybody. It's about, no, okay, wait, there was something missing here for you, or maybe there was something that didn't register for you, or whatever it was, and it interrupted that development. And if we can just, rewrite that story, if we can lean into that area and provide those things that might have been missing, you're going to thrive. You're going to thrive. You're going to be fine. You're going to be amazing. Um, so it's just a matter, those are kind of two like wide views. So it's not that I'm sitting in there the entire time being like, tell me about when you were 2. But those things, like if there are little things like that, that may be something to keep an eye on, and just to notice. So a lot of my time is spent just asking questions and getting to know the client. And I'm always looking for stuckness, if I can say it like that. Where are we stuck? And if we're stuck in an obvious area, there's usually a few little areas that we're also stuck in that maybe if we just dealt with those, this big one might push itself out. So it's just looking at those spaces, and there's a lot more to it than that, but that's kind of the, I don't know, the wide view.
Mhm. No, that's so cool. And I feel like you highlighted so many important pieces that, can, how do I want to say it, can kind of like aid the problem or feed the problem, you know what I mean? And looking at all the different pieces, which is so cool. And I know you do work with, a pretty diverse clientele, but I know
Mhm.
one of the populations you work with is teenagers and their
Yeah.
families. Is that right?
Yes.
So tell us about that and what do you find rewarding about working with, teenagers or even with families in
Yeah.
counseling?
I think teenagers are a unique space because you have like your brain is developing a lot more at this point. Like you're further along in that sense. You do have some senses of, like I can rationalize things and I can hold
Mhm.
myself back from making certain choices, things like that. There's expectations. But one thing I think that gets missed a lot is that they are just much older kids that really do want and need their parents in different ways. They still require love and connection, just like we talked about in the younger demographic. They really want that. It just looks a little bit different. Ideally, they are starting to feel like confident. They're starting to find the things they love. They're starting to explore new areas of interest and, where they want to go and what they want to try in life. And so like working with youth is such a unique space because I think it's overlooked. Like a lot of the time, the parent is just seeing maybe the anger outburst that they continue to get, or the disconnection inside of the classroom, or, they just don't, they would say something like, I just don't know how to connect with them.
Mm.
My thought with that is always like, well, do it anyways. Like try. I know that sounds silly and it sounds like did come to therapy for that. But really, like they do want you, even if they're telling you with everything in them that they don't want you as a parent, or they don't want you around, or they don't want you in their life. Ultimately, they do. It might just be the way that you're approaching it that's not working.
Yeah.
You might be maybe overlooking some steps in there of independence and whatnot. They do really want you. It's just a matter of learning how to come at it in a way where they can hear.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that. That's so important. And it kind of leads into my next question because I was going to say exactly what you said. Lots of parents often talk about, my teenager won't open up, or I don't know how to talk to them, or all of these struggles that they have in the communication piece or bridging that gap. So even in that,
Yeah.
the just try for people who are like, okay, what's one step or something? What advice would you give for small changes that can encourage better communication in families?
Yeah. Well, a lot of things, but number one is just to be interested. Like, what is their life like? And who are they now? Uh, they're learning so much all the time. They have so much influence from external sources. They spend a lot of their life in school, which is away from you. So there's a lot that you actually don't know. And I know the typical thing is like, hey, how's your day? Good. Like you're not really learning a lot in that, but to find the ways where you guys can do something that's just you guys together. Even if
Right.
it's like something simple like walking the dog at the end of the day, or maybe it's something a little bit more elaborate like doing some kind of like a lunch or something once in a while. But just really like spending time with them, showing them that they're important to you, that they matter. Even if you don't know how to say those words, just finding ways where you can be together and show care. I do when I do talk to kids, one of the things or teens, sorry, one of the things I hear a lot is just that they feel like their parents don't really care. And I know that that's not true. Parents immediately care so much about this kid for sure, but it's not coming across in a way that they can hear it. Uh, and in that sense, like kids are really looking for that place of where they belong. Belonging is a really big piece of development. We and then also the vulnerability that comes with emotional intimacy, that ability to be seen and to see others. They really that they want it demonstrated from mom and dad. So sharing, how your day actually was, and
Mm.
hearing
So kind
about
of modeling, right?
yes,
So cool.
yes, exactly. I know that words can be hard, but there are ways to grow in that. Like we can,
Mm.
if saying I love you is not an easy task, which I understand for sure,
Mhm.
it is something that can be grown, and it is in an area that even as parents that we can be expanding our resources in. So there's room for the whole family to like learn how to come around each other and show up for each other.
So good. Yeah. Well, I know that you have to run soon because Braden's off saving the world and doing his counseling sessions. But
Yeah,
but
right.
last question while we still have you is when would you say would be a good time for a parent to maybe consider bringing their teen to counseling, and what can they expect from the process?
Okay, great question. I think
Mm.
as soon as you're wondering, I wonder
Mm.
if that would be helpful. That's where like even probably like on the later side of things. So it's good to start.
Right. That's so good.
It's really good to be preventive in that sense. Like you might have a great relationship with your son. You might have a great relationship with him. And it might be a good thing to do once in a while to check in and see how things are going. Or maybe you've heard that like school has been a struggle in maybe more than one class. Maybe there's some things going on there that we could talk about. Maybe we need to look at some connecting points with the teachers. Maybe there's a way to lean in together as your, the parent role inside of that. Anyways, the point is that there really is no bad time. I do find though a lot of people wait until it's at the highest level of extreme. And then that just means you just take a little bit longer sometimes bringing things back down and then reconnecting. But there's no bad time. There's no bad time to start growing and developing and valuing your family. It will always be the right time. So if you're wondering about it, that's a great time to start.
That's so awesome. So yeah, there's never a wrong time. As soon as you think about it, that could be the right time. Invest. Love that. Well, thank you so much, Braden, for your time. For any of you watching, if you're interested in connecting with Braden, want to bring your teenagers, yourself, anything, you can find his link at the Masters website. Thanks so much, Braden.
Awesome. Yeah, it was good. Thank you.
Great.